Before I became unstoppable, I had to vanish, not from the world, but from the version of me obsessed with being seen. I buried my reflection, silenced my emotions, and trained in the quiet, while the world kept screaming. What I found in the shadows was a version of me no one was ready for. Not loud, not flashy, just deadly calm, mentally invisible, unshakable. This isn't motivation, this is transformation. There's power in being unseen, but I didn't always know that. I used to believe I had to be everywhere, show everything, make noise so people would notice. But the more I tried to be seen, the weaker I felt, because when you let the world see all of you, they start taking pieces. Your energy, your peace, your identity. And slowly you stop being yours, you become theirs. So I disappeared, not physically, mentally, emotionally. I stopped oversharing, stopped explaining, stopped performing. I let them wonder. I became silent on purpose. Because silence is a shield. If they can't read you, they can't control you. If they can't see your next move, they can't stop it. If they don't know your weakness, they can't use it. I became like smoke, present but untouchable. I walked into rooms unreadable. I didn't react. I didn't justify. I didn't seek approval. This wasn't hiding. This was sharpening. This was sharpening. This was evolution in plain sight. The world says be visible, be loud, be known. But real power is quiet. It's being so focused, so disciplined, so grounded that the world loses track of you. And by the time they notice again, you've already transformed. So don't fear disappearing, because if you do it right, you never come back the same. You come back untouchable, unshakable, unbreakable. I had to kill my reflection, and it was the hardest thing I've ever done. Because for years, I lived for it. The mirror, the image, the applause, the validation. I stood there, fixing, flexing, doubting, asking questions no one could hear. Do they see me? Do they respect me? Am I enough? Will I be remembered? But none of it mattered. What mattered was who I became when no one was watching. And when I finally stopped chasing the world, I started mastering myself. There was a voice in my head, the loudest one, and it screamed at me. It said I had to win every argument, be liked by everyone, prove my worth, or I was nothing. And the scariest part, that voice sounded exactly like me. My tone, my breath. So I believed it. I thought it was me. Until one night, I sat in the dark. No spotlight, no noise, just silence and breath. And I asked myself a question I had never dared to ask. Who taught me to speak to myself this way? Whose voice really benefits when I doubt my own power? Why do I keep following a voice that has never led me to peace? That's when the truth hit me. Hard like a punch to the chest. I was speaking with the language of my old pain, old wounds, old programming. Failure, fear, and I made a decision. I wouldn't silence that voice with rage. I'd bury it with honor, like a warrior laying a fallen comrade to rest, grateful for the lessons, but no longer bound by them. I didn't just quiet that voice, I replaced it. I trained a new one, stronger, clearer, one that speaks with purpose, not panic, truth, not fear, power, not noise. Now when I walk into a room, my mind doesn't whisper, do they like me? It asks, am I aligned with me? When I fail, it doesn't say, told you so. It says, this is how we sharpen. Let's go again. I speak to myself like a leader. Because if you don't lead your inner world, your outer world will run it for you. Here's what most people never understand. That old voice in your head, it's not your truth. It's your trauma echoing, and you're allowed to let it go. Even if it's been with you for years, even if it sounds like home, because pain can feel familiar, but that doesn't mean it belongs. When I buried that voice, something powerful happened. I heard a new one, soft at first, but clear, steady, unshakable. It didn't need applause, didn't beg for reassurance. It just said, Keep going. That's the voice that built me. That's the voice that leads me now. And that's the voice you must find. Beneath the wounds, beneath the noise, beneath the lies. You're not broken. You're just buried under the voice of who you used to be. So bury the old voice, not with hate, but with gratitude. It got you here, but it can't take you further. And when it's gone, speak again. This time, as the version of you that doesn't need to be rescued, only refined. My mind was a storm, loud, chaotic, relentless. I had power, but no control. That's when it hit me. My greatest opponent wasn't the world outside. It was the part of me that kept chasing temporary comfort at the cost of permanent growth. So I made a decision. Discipline eats first, not my emotions, not my impulses. Discipline. That meant saying no when every part of me was screaming yes. It meant walking away when my pride wanted to fight. It meant showing up even when I felt broken, invisible, exhausted. Was it easy? Hell no. There were nights I trembled in silence, just holding back the storm inside. But every time I chose discipline over emotion, I earned something deeper, command, not just over my actions, but over my spirit. See, emotions are wild horses, powerful, raw, unpredictable. And if you ride without reins, they'll drag you off a cliff. Discipline is the reins. It doesn't kill the horse. It guides it. It focuses chaos into controlled power. I didn't stop feeling. I stopped obeying, every feeling like it was a king. I turned my anger into fuel for my workouts, my sadness into sharpened focus, my loneliness into independence, and my fear. I looked it in the eyes and said, "You can walk beside me, but you don't get to lead." You think strength is loud? No, real strength is the man who wants to explode, but stays calm, the one who wants to quit, but takes one more step, the one who feels everything, but only acts on what matters. I don't care how fast you are, how strong your punch is. If your emotions control you, you'll lose to the one who controls himself. So I starved my emotions, not forever, just long enough to teach them. Discipline sits at the head of the table, because when life hits, when pressure rises, when everything starts falling apart, it won't be your feelings that save you. It'll be your habits, your rituals, your focus, your calm. The storm doesn't wait for you to feel ready. So I trained in the storm to stand still, still focused, still sharp, even when my heart was screaming. Now I don't need to shout. I don't need to prove. I just act deliberately, decisively, with the kind of power you only earn when you learn to rule your inner world. That's why I buried the emotional child in me, so the disciplined warrior could rise, because I studied darkness, not just light. Most people crave the spotlight, the praise, the picture-perfect life, but light can lie, because even broken things can shine under it. In the silence, I didn't hear nothing. I heard everything, the doubts, the fears, the grief I buried, the pain I pretended was gone. And something terrifying hit me. I wasn't afraid of being alone. I was afraid of meeting myself in that loneliness, but I had a choice. Keep running or sit still long enough to finally understand the silence. So I sat. No music, no phone, no distractions, just breath and truth. And it didn't comfort me, it confronted me. I heard the voice I'd been running from. The one that asked, why are you still trying to prove yourself? Why do you crave being seen so badly? Why do you fear being forgotten? And slowly, loneliness changed. It became a mirror, a teacher, a sanctuary. Because when the world is quiet, you can't perform, you can't impress, you can't pretend. You just are. And in that stillness, I met a version of myself who didn't need applause, didn't chase validation, didn't beg to be loved. He just wanted peace. You see, people confuse loneliness with emptiness, but loneliness isn't the absence of others. It's the absence of connection with yourself. And once you find that inner connection, you stop needing noise to feel alive. Now I train alone, think alone, walk alone, not because I hate people, but because I no longer need them to fill a void. I sit with my thoughts. I feel my pain without judgment. I breathe without needing someone else to make it okay. That's power, the kind that doesn't shout. It just exists, because once you've stood in the middle of your own emptiness and didn't run, you become something else. Not hard, not bitter, but whole. No more chasing people who can't stay. No more reshaping myself to be accepted. No more begging to be seen. Now when I enter a room, I don't need attention. I don't need approval. I need alignment, because I've walked through the darkest part of my soul, and I came out whole. So if you're alone right now, and it hurts, good. That means you're right where the transformation begins. Don't run. Sit. Breathe. Listen. There's a version of you waiting on the other side of that silence. Stronger, clearer, unshakable. I made peace with loneliness, and now it walks beside me like an old friend, not to fill a void, but to remind me I was never empty, just undiscovered. I died before I fought, and that's why I'm unstoppable now.